Hello and welcome back to Thinking That Matters. I am Elizabeth Mahusai and I am here with my guest, Ben Bauman. Did I say it correctly?
You did.
All right, good. I got it. We were just talking about last names and pronunciations. I am super excited for you to get to hear and learn from Ben. So whether you're watching this or you're listening to it, get ready because we have got a great episode for you. So Ben, give them the short version of your story getting to where you are now.
Sure. So Elizabeth, I'm the Director of Product Development at Southwestern Consulting. Been in this role for a little over 2 years now. Joined the team in April of 2022. Joined it right in the middle of baseball season. When you see a baseball jersey back there, I coach the Southwestern Consulting sponsored team here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I've been on the team for 2 years, the consulting team, and been leading our product development efforts in terms of like product strategy, bringing new products to market, new content. We're about to go launch digital products and courses, which will be fantastic. Just trying to get the message out there to the world with all of Southwestern Consulting's messages. All of our great coaching content, working with you and many other people in helping to revamp our product. We've reshot and made new videos over 150 videos at this point.
A lot. You've been busy.
Been very busy. We've got 3 video shoots this week lined up, so that's a lot of fun. That was really a skill set I didn't even have coming into this role. But before that, I'll just give you the 30-second version. Before that, I worked in product. I've always been a product guy my whole professional career, but software. I was leading 2 software teams, my previous role at a company. And then before that, I was in the lottery industry for over a decade, 13 years, but who's counting? And director of product, leading some product teams, 2 different state lotteries, and on the vendor side. So a lot of fun experiences. Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, okay, so from lottery to software to consulting product development.
Sure.
Okay, is that a
That's
decent?
It.
Okay.
Decent.
So I'm curious because of so much time that you have spent in product development. You know, the whole podcast is Thinking That Matters. So it's really processing through thought, how our thinking has developed over time. So for you, if you had to think about your progression, what would you say of the jobs that you've had has really challenged you where your thinking is concerned? Challenged your thinking development? Maybe that's the better question.
Right. Well, I guess if I think about it this way, I've always been a big reader, going back to reading the encyclopedias as a kid.
Wow.
Reading the encyclopedia from A to Z, literally. I had a set like in 2nd grade. So I've always been somebody that reads, whether for pleasure or like professional development. Try to read a couple books at a time, a couple books a month. Reading a lot of Michael Lewis books recently, if you're familiar with him. He's the guy that wrote Moneyball and The Blind Side. A lot of his books have been turned into movies.
Yeah,
Big Shorts and Wall Street. But then, I also...
I'm familiar with The Blind Side.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock. Yeah. So I guess probably since I've come to this role, because working on Southwestern Consulting, I just wanted to be really aware of all the different ideas that are out there and different perspectives, and just trying to bring more to my role here. I've probably been a more voracious reader these last 2 years than even in previous years. I mean, it's insane. If like my my nightstand next to my bed, there's like 3 stacks of books, and I've read them all. I just need to get more bookshelves in my house. My wife is like, Ben, buy some bookshelves. Stop buying books. So that's definitely been an exciting. I mean, I've always been a big reader, but I think I've really. And even before I came here, I was reading books on, a lot of the stuff I read kind of prepared me for this role of, vision, leadership, time management, atomic habits, all that stuff. So this is just fun place to work to apply a lot of that.
I like the fact that for you, there's a direct connection between reading and thought development.
Right.
Okay. So that's helped to lay a strong foundation for you. Now, thinking about, again, you can choose any one of those experiences of whether it's software development, lottery time, or as a baseball coach,
sure.
Right? Where have you, when you look back, you can identify limiting beliefs or thinking patterns that weren't serving you well? Mm-hmm. Like you can look back and go, the way I was thinking there did not serve me well. So first tell us about that, and then I want you to tell us how what you did to work on that.
Sure. I'd say early on in my career when I kind of was starting out in the lottery and I was just a product manager working on the scratch-off ticket product line, and probably wasn't as much a reader as I am now. Wasted more time playing video games and going to the gym, and not that going to the gym's a waste of time, but the video games definitely are. I'd say I was kind of, a little overconfident and just really wasn't in the right headspace to, get to where I was now. I had to make some changes. I had to grow and evolve as a person and open myself up to new ideas and become a better communicator. And, I think for me, like just reading books, listening to a lot of podcasts, but this was even predates, the podcast era before, iPhones and all that, early 2000s.
Yes.
Just having some mentors at the time that would recommend a book to me here and there, and I'd kind of go through and like, okay, yeah, there's some stuff I don't know. I don't know everything. I'm out of college. I'm working. I have my own place, but I don't know everything. I still need to keep
climbing upwards.
Keep leveling up. Even though I'm out of school, I can still do a little schoolwork at home.
Well, it's interesting that you said you were overconfident.
Yeah.
And one of the things that reading helps you to do is to recognize I don't know everything.
Yes.
And that there was still more to learn. You've already talked a lot about reading, so I just have to know, like, if you had to give me your top 3 books ever.
Top 3 books ever, okay.
What would you say? That were either they were life-changing, thought-changing. What are the first ones that come to mind?
I'll give you a couple of different categories. So for like a fiction book and something I'll pick up and go back to once in a while. I've read it out loud twice. I've got 2 boys and I have a daughter too, but I read it to my boys when they were like infants and bedtime stories. Took like 8 months. I read them cover to cover, The Lord of the Rings, all 1,100 pages of that.
Wow.
It was just a long story.
Yes. You need time to, yeah.
I'd read it to them, they'd fall asleep, I'd just keep reading because I try to get like 10 pages a night. So it took like,
a long time.
A long time, 8 months.
Okay, so fiction, Lord of the Rings.
That was a fun one. I'm not a big fantasy nerd guy or whatever, but that's just, it's classic literature.
Yes.
For the kids, when I coach them in baseball and stuff, and they're 5th and 6th graders, and they're just getting into like pitching and trying to equip them with some mental game skills. There's a book called The Mental ABCs of Pitching. It's by a guy that used to work for the Marlins and the A's back in the 90s, early 2000s, a guy named Harvey Dorfman. He's passed on, but he's got some really great, it's like 2-page, 3-page chapters on like different topics like responsibility or excuses or executing pitches. All these topics like A to Z, and it's like real short reads, and I cover it with the kids, and it helps. By the end of the season, they're kind of speaking the lingo and doing well. And then for work, I've got a bunch of books on the shelf here. Which one jumps out at me? Couple good ones. I'd say Martin Lindstrom. I've got a couple books here. This one's by him. He's a product person. This one here.
Yeah.
Says biology. He's got a couple books, but he kind of goes in like a investigative journalist. In this one he goes and he visits with customers of different products, and he kind of goes around the world and it just writes about his journey, and it's about consumer and consumer behavior, and that's like what product is all about, is kind of understanding customers and what they need and how we can serve them. So it's pretty interesting read. It sounds kind of like it wouldn't be that interesting, but he makes it fun.
Well, it sounds like if he were using his travels and his experiences, and he was bringing that into, in a sense, the storytelling of the why people are buying, then that could make it a very interesting read.
Right.
Because you can find yourself in someone else's story to better understand the reason why people buy. Is that making sense?
It is, yeah. And I used to work a lot, like lottery was a retail category, and it was trying to understand retail and just the overall picture with retail and where that category specifically fit in, and trying to understand, where the industry was going and all of that. So it was that, and some other books along that line was interesting to read, and I enjoyed that. And I think that I have a very curious perspective. I'm always wanting to talk to people, learn what they're why they like things they like, what I'll just even make small talk with the cashier at the grocery store and ask them what they think about the music in the store, or ask them about certain things, and you just get little nuggets, just kind of all these data points, and you're just collecting it all.
figuring out what to do with them.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
So that's probably my very simplified version of what really happens in that amazing brain of yours.
Yeah.
So when you think about, you came here to Southwestern and you're taking all of this product development knowledge that you had gained, and you're really trying to find ways to, or maybe find avenues through which people can engage with content.
Right.
Because Southwestern is a very established company.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the
going back 150 years.
Yes, our sister company is 160 plus years.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process when you came in? You know, you were new. This is 2 years in. How? Because I want the person listening, maybe they've started a new job, or maybe they're about to tackle a new project, or they need to retool or rethink their approach to a problem that is recycling in their business or in their life. Walk us through kind of from your mindset how you approach that. And you can use this as an example, or if you want to use something else.
I got a perfect example.
Okay.
And I can even mention you, because when I started off here over 2 years ago, I wanted to not come in with these prejudgments, and I wanted to really just kind of learn it with fresh eyes. So I did I guess you'd call it like shadowing. I literally would either watch somebody, coaches like you, Elizabeth. I'd sit there on the Zoom call and listen in while you're coaching a client. And I did that for dozens and dozens of coaches. So I got not just your perspective, but probably 30 or more coaches let me do that with them. And I'd do it in person or via Zoom, and just kind of learning the business and really what that product, what the coaching product, what that service is all about, what the customers need and want, what the current pain points are, trying to understand really what the current situation is before I could come in and start recommending you do this and that and this. It's like, well, I need to get up to speed. So I really took to that process, and it's still something I do even now, just to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of the business. Is we have a great database where I can go on there and I can look up some coaching calls that are recorded and just kind of still see how, and it has evolved over time. Now we've got a learning management system platform that really didn't exist 2 years ago. So we've taken a lot of our content from these PDFs and printouts to roll it into. Now it's all online and it's digital and it's on your phone. It's in a mobile app, and but even now there's still pain points with that, and there's still things we're trying to improve and we can do better. So it's just kind of a continuous discovery process, and always being curious and not being too don't want to think I have all the answers.
So going back from that learning of where you once were overconfident, but recognizing there's always something more to learn.
Right.
Something I picked up from what you just said, you came in with no prejudgment, right? So it's trying to remove the judgment that we have about things. Secondly, you use the phrase shadow, so that's you're watching, you're listening to other people. So you're, in a sense, you're collecting data, you're learning about the situation. If they're in the midst of it, maybe they're not new coming into a company like you were, but maybe they've been a long time within the company, but they need to see it with fresh eyes.
Right.
What would be your recommendation for maybe how can I re-look at a problem or see it with a different perspective?
Yeah, there was a TV show, it's on syndication now, Undercover Boss, which I didn't watch at the time, but I flipped around and seen it once or twice. And it's like the CEO puts on a mustache and a wig.
Yes.
And he's working, the lowest level job, ground, direct with the customers or whatever the role is, So anything you can do to be working, dealing directly with customers, remove yourself from the ivory tower, from meetings about meetings, and just get in there and see what the business really is, and just get in there and get your hands dirty and then really understand what's going on and what the value is that you're giving the customers. I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I have seen that before, where they have no idea that it's it's the actual boss, and what it's very eye-opening,
right,
where that's concerned. I think the value of actually working alongside of people as well, because something that you have done and you can still consistently do is just your presence in meetings and different things that we're doing to be able to see what we
Right.
do, like see it in action ultimately, where that's concerned. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is your presence. Having a presence there makes a big difference. Now,
Oh, for sure. You want to be present. You don't want to be, in a meeting but looking at your phone or checking your email. Just be where your feet are, right? And just pay attention and listen. And then if you have something to offer, share it.
yes. Now, something that I think, just as we kind of round this out, I want to go to your baseball coaching.
Yeah.
All right.
Bring it on.
So you love baseball.
Absolutely.
All right. When you're working with these, you said 5th and 6th graders?
Right.
Okay. So, having raised 2 boys, they were not necessarily sports, but still an organized, music situation. What do you find for our young people is their most challenging limiting beliefs, thinking that is causing them the most issue in being able to grow?
For young people, I mean, especially when I see this out working with kids playing baseball, it's just that they're not dreaming big enough. Like when I was a kid, everybody wanted to be Ken Griffey Jr. or whatever the best players of the day were, Michael Jordan for basketball.
Right.
And you talk to kids now, and some of them know players, but they're like, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. It's like, no, I tell them, guys, you're going to learn some discipline, you're going to learn some work ethic, how to, the process and how to get better and improve. And yeah, you're not going to be an MLB player by the end of this season here in 3 months, but if you keep at it and you work at it in between seasons and you keep playing, just get to the next level. Get from the rec league, get to the middle school team or to a travel team. And then from there, keep working your tail off, make the high school team. Then maybe you'll make college. And you can do it. I mean, it happens. I went to high school with a guy that got drafted by the Braves in the 2nd round out of high school. It's like,
wow.
pretty cool.
Wow.
And when I think when I was 11 or 12, 5th or 6th grade, I think he was on the other team in the championship that year. He was on the Yankees, and he probably struck me out because I was like the 8th best player on the team. I wasn't a great player either, but I worked hard. So young people, they just need to know that you can have big goals, big audacious goals, and just really, a lot of kids, you ask them nowadays, it's the year 2024, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be a whatever, not like
a gamer.
A gamer. They don't want to be an astronaut. They don't want to be they don't want to be the next Michael Jordan. But and it's not that I don't push the kids that, hey, you're going to work hard and I'm going to turn you into ball players for a living. It's just you're going to learn skills that you can apply as a business person or as a husband or a father that'll serve you well. So it's learning character skills, and I always teach them. I keep it super simple with them, especially at this age. It's number one, first thing you do every day, make your bed. So at the end of the day, when you come home from practice, and you're tired, your bed's made, and you can get cleaned up and hop in it, and just little things like that. Hold the door open for a woman or your parents, and help out and do your schoolwork, because that'll make you a better ball player too. It's not just swinging the bat and throwing it. You've got to have the brains too. So.
I love that, holding the door, serving, things that, and of course we've heard, I say we, maybe not someone necessarily, depending on the age range, I heard decades ago, make the bed first thing in the morning. Yeah. There's something.
I even do it too.
There's something very psychologically
right.
satisfying.
Checking off the
That's
task.
right. Immediately to do that. And I just want to go back. I love what you said about our kids aren't dreaming big enough. I would say our adults aren't dreaming big enough.
Sure. Oh yeah.
I would say our business owners aren't dreaming big enough. And and it's fighting that thought process of just enough. Mm-hmm. And that's what you were saying. It's when you have big goals and you work hard, maybe you won't ultimately be the Major League Baseball player, but you're going to be able to translate those skills of work ethic and thought process and goal setting and goal, getting to what you do later in your life as well.
Yeah.
So I think that I just appreciated hearing you, just that the value of the working hard and developing the character that's necessary for that.
And I think a lot of people probably have like a fear of success. Like, I'm not going to try hard because then if I'm successful, how will I handle it? If I do my best, if I'm a business person and I'm in coaching and I do everything my coach asks me to do, and then I double my business and now I'm making more money than I know what to do with, how am I going to handle it? There's fear of failure, but there's also fear of success, in business and life and sports, and anything, so it's like you've got to you've got to overcome the fear, and you've got to manage it one step at a time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a very good point, because I think internally we recognize, well, to your point, when you got to okay, there's still things for me to learn, people go, I'm not that great at fill in the blank. And so when I'm successful, or if I'm successful, then how am I going to actually manage that, or be able to maintain that success? So I do agree. I think fear is a big aspect of that.
Yeah, it's just all about growing your talent stack. Like the stuff I'm doing now, I really wasn't doing a lot of video production and editing and all this content stuff. I was more on the math side of product, especially in lottery. It was all math and a little bit of design. So you've got to just continue to say yes to opportunities and keep building new skills. And when you combine them, with your talent stacks, and that's how you become a Joe Rogan, where you're into martial arts and you do stand-up comedy, and now you've got a podcast that's 3 hours long, and you're getting paid what you're worth.
That's right. And I love the concept of talent stacking. I know that we've talked about, because you talked about atomic habits, habit stacking.
Right.
And it really does make a difference. But I think if I were to characterize just our conversation around, for you, you're reading, voraciously reading, specifically,
Sure.
You said in the last 2 years, it's that hunger for growth, for constantly developing your thinking
Yes.
About things. Well, I always ask every single person I have the privilege of speaking with, why do you believe it's important for people to cultivate thinking that matters?
That's a great question, Alyssa. I'm kind of stumped, but if I have to shoot from the hip here, thinking that matters. I mean, you've got to think things through, and when you need it the most, those skills, those thinking skills, that thought process skills, you want to be ready. You want to be prepared for anything in life. I was jogging too late at night one night with my son, and we're kind of on a country road. My son's 9. He wanted to go for a run, and we asked him earlier in the day when it was sunnier, and he didn't want to do it because he was playing Nintendo. So it was like 7:30, and the sun was starting to go down. We get down the road a little bit, and we start coming back, and we're having a great conversation, and we're running. And there's cars coming down the road. You can see them from half a mile down the road. We just pull off in somebody's driveway, and there was a car coming down the road, and they didn't have their lights on. So some teenagers in like a Jeep or something.
Okay.
And we're not in the middle of the road, but we're kind of on the edge because we always jog on the edge. But I had like a split second, and thank goodness I was looking ahead and thinking, and I wasn't dreaming or daydreaming or looking somewhere else. But I saw the car, I grabbed him, and we pulled him, and we jumped off the road. 2 or 3 seconds from being hit by a car, and they just kept speeding down the road.
Wow.
Scared him, scared me worse because I was
Of course.
it's like, oh God, my son's life flashed before my eyes, and I should have known better not to be out that late, but just, being present where my feet were at the time, out running, but also aware. And then I just, instinctively, my thinking took care of itself there.
That's a great example. So in a sense, when we're cultivating our thinking on an ongoing basis, where our feet are, we have that awareness. Our thinking can truly lead us in the steps that we take, or in this case, the split second action.
Make a decision. Yeah.
Correct decision that you had to make in order to preserve, in this case, life.
Right.
I mean, that's a powerful story, and appreciate you sharing it. And I just want to say that I appreciate all the work that you have done on helping here at Southwestern Consulting, really leading the way in product development. And so I encourage those of you who are listening, what can you be reading? He has given us some great examples for reading. I just want to go back. He said Lord of the Rings, The Mental ABCs of Pitching, and Biology, B-U-Y, ology.
Yep.
But find a book, read, develop a habit of humility, that there's always something more to learn, and continue to cultivate thinking that matters, because when you cultivate thinking that matters, you can live a life and build a business that matters.